What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You're watching Everything Weapons. Today, I'm going to be reading from the warzone.com, so all credit to them. But we're going to be talking what was the jellyfish-like drone swarm that downed the F-15E American pilot who reportedly saw this over Iran. One source described the Strike Eagle pilot seeing a minefield of drones in the skies over Iran before their jet went down. So many questions remain about the complex mission to rescue the crew of the U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle that came down over Iran in April of this year and what led to it. Now, the reported testimony of the Strike Eagle pilot describes a jellyfish-like swarm of drones in the sky moments before they ejected from the stricken jet. So I believe this pilot survived. According to a report from CNN, the pilot recounted seeing multiple Iranian drones hovering in the air, moving as one in a formation that resembled a jellyfish. The report is based on statements from 4 unnamed sources said to be familiar with the matter. Now, needless to say, the veracity of the report should be treated with caution, especially bearing in mind the highly dynamic and confused nature of the situation. However, CNN claims that the account was taken seriously enough to prompt debate within the U.S. intelligence community. It should also be noted that the testimony relates only to the pilot and not the weapon systems officer, or WSO. The report suggests that during a post-incident debriefing, the F-15E pilot told intelligence officials that they saw, quote, multiple drones interconnected and moving as one, with smaller drones below the bigger drones like legs. Real alien shit. Quote, those words are not from the pilot themselves, but are said to be from one of the sources familiar with the witness account. So basically, a person spoke to the pilot and CNN spoke to this person, right? Another source told CNN that the same pilot described seeing a minefield of drones in the air. Again, provided these accounts are correct, we cannot say for sure that the pilot actually saw what they described. After all, this was during an extremely high stress period, and the pilot also ended up with a concussion, which doesn't hold weight, but I don't know. It's very possible, very likely. It's not like he saw a flying saucer, right? But even the U.S. intelligence officials involved in the debrief reportedly disagreed on how to interpret what the F-15 pilot described and whether the pilot could recount the incident clearly, according to CNN. The same report also repeats the assertion that the pilot had previously been shot down in the same conflict during a friendly fire incident that left 3 Strike Eagles downed over Kuwait in March. The High Side, a publication on Substack, first reported this detail, citing unnamed current and former Air Force officials. CBS News also subsequently reported this, citing anonymous individuals familiar with the events. As for the F-15E incident over Iran, this year while the exact cause of the loss of the F-15E hasn't been revealed, NBC News previously quoted 3 unidentified officials who said the jet was probably struck by a Chinese-made shoulder-launched missile, and that the engagement may have been supported by a long-range early warning radar that spots stealth aircraft, which Iran received in the early days of the war. U.S. President Donald Trump also reportedly said that the Iranians used a shoulder-fired missile and that they got lucky. That's exactly what Trump said. Furthermore, while the pilot was rescued within hours, the WSO hid out in a crevice as both rescuers and Iranians frantically searched for him. They were picked up around 50 hours after ejection, aided by a rescue mission involving hundreds of troops, scores of aircraft, and diversion operations over more than a half dozen different parts of Iran. The effort also saw the loss of a second aircraft, an A-10 attack jet, in the air, as well as two MC-130J Commando 2s, special operation cargo planes, and several H-6 Little Bird special operation helicopters that were destroyed on the ground. The most dramatic interpretation that a drone swarm directly participated, even if by happenstance, in the shootout of the Strike Eagle cannot be entirely ruled out, but there is no publicly available evidence supporting it. There is the description of this formation being a minefield, as in something the F-15 could stumble into. This is an interesting note that it may just be how it was mentioned figuratively. At the same time, putting up some sort of a drone screen formation along a known route, especially if it is being used for low-level transits or near a high-risk facility, could make some sense and logic, right? But basically, the aircraft would fly into it and be destroyed if it hits a drone. The drones are detonated in close proximity to the aircraft, or even if they are connected physically somehow and the aircraft hits the cables. This would match with the description to a degree, and it would not require any sort of real swarming capability. This would be something of a new barrage balloon concept that is more flexible and easier to deploy on demand. China is using balloons in a similar manner to protect key installations today. In addition, Iran certainly has employed its fair share of bizarre tactics and weapons concepts to that point, that this doesn't seem that implausible and impossible and unlikely, but still, it is just a guess. Returning to the new report, if the pilot really did see a jellyfish-like group of Iranian drones that were truly swarming, that would point to a previously unknown capabilities within that country, but this is technology that is certainly within the realm of credibility. Swarms, in this context, are a group of vehicles or just guided munitions that are interconnected via data link and work cooperatively to maximize their combined abilities to accomplish an objective or set of objectives. It is important to note that a major role is played by the nature of a swarm's computing and autonomy capabilities and the supporting communication architecture. Swarms can range from ones offering basic cooperative capabilities to far more advanced and dynamic advanced AI-driven ones. Swarms are not to be confused with a group of drones that are simply sent on a mission together, but have no true cooperative capabilities. These can be best viewed, at least in the aerial sense, as formations of drones or flocks of drones like birds, right, that are basically pre-programmed with tactical planning and large numbers, providing an advantage, not the ability to react to external stimuli and make decisions as a team in real time. Regardless, based on two of its sources, CNN asserts that initial reports indicated that it was possible the drone formation had in some way enabled Iran to shoot down the American jet. This would raise questions about what type of performance and configuration these drones had, including what altitude the drones were at when they were supposedly sighted, as well as the flight level of the Strike Eagle American jet. Previously, U.S. officials disclosed that Iran had made use of smaller drones in the hunt for the missing F-15E WSO, but there was no mention of any kind of drone swarms. For China and Russia, to name just two countries, both of which have provided military assistance to Iran, drone swarming is very much in an area of focus, and swarms have many uses, not just to overwhelm the enemy, but also to sense broad areas cooperatively and to work as a highly efficient group, offering mixed capabilities that equate to a sum greater than their parts. In the case of China, as we have been as the war zone has been reporting on for years, the country has moved especially fast on drone swarming, working to evolve these capabilities on different scales for many years. And the Chinese have repeatedly demonstrated swarms of loitering munitions deployed from container launchers that can be mounted on light vehicles or helicopters, for example. And the country has worked to develop higher-end swarming capabilities using larger drones as well as advanced unmanned combat air vehicles. This is on top of the country's place as an absolute leader in low-end unmanned, uncrewed technologies, including massive coordinated drone swarms for commercial purposes. So the potential of this kind of warfare has not been lost on the U.S. military either, which has been working on it for decades, and these efforts date back many years, with the public disclosure of the perdix having come nearly a decade ago now, and cooperative swarming trials have been carried out repeatedly in the open since then. These efforts have since become mainstream as the drone revolution has taken hold of the defense industry. Some of these technologies are now being operationalized in a publicized manner. All this is on top of what is likely an extreme level of development in the classified realm. And only last month, the Warzone reported on how the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA for short, was looking into drones with a high degree of autonomous operation, as well as remotely operated containerized systems to launch, recover, and otherwise support them. The end result would be a likely self-sustaining autonomous constellation capable of supporting networked swarms consisting of as many as 500 drones at one time. By now, swarming capabilities are a key emerging tenet of modern and future military drone development and are beginning to be demonstrated on the battlefield in Ukraine currently. At this point, it is worth noting that Iran has already demonstrated loitering surface-to-air missiles, an unusual category of weapon that blurs the distinction between a kamikaze drone and a more traditional surface-to-air missile. As far as we know, Iran has not attempted to use these weapons in swarms, although having them operate in larger groups would clearly boost the probability of success. There's also the possibility that what the F-15E pilot saw was some kind of previously unknown drone technology fielded by the U.S. or Israeli military before the Strike Eagle came down. Clearly, Israel and the United States deployed certain systems in the conflict that had not been seen before, and both countries have the ability to field platforms with swarming capabilities, releasing a group of drones that can hunt and even kill over the Iranian countryside, looking for targets of opportunity over large areas, like air defenses and standoff weapons launchers, is exactly the kind of concept that drones were envisioned as being so capable at realizing. But subsequently, while the rescue effort was underway, the U.S. military certainly was making use of drones in the vicinity. Air Force General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, previously described how A-10s and drones and other tactical aircraft were violently suppressing and engaging the enemy in gunfight to keep them away from the front seater and allow the pickup force to get into the objective area. The use of drones for suppression and destruction of enemy air defenses, as well as stand-in jamming of those systems, is a very real component of modern air warfare, dating back decades. Israel was a pioneer in it, which those capabilities are far more advanced today, though, especially for long-range systems dedicated to those missions and for the emerging launched effects segment of drone warfare. It's hard to imagine that these proven capabilities were not put to some use over Iran during the war, but the U.S. military even employed its own one-way attack munition, the Lucas drone, with similar capabilities. With all that being said, there is the possibility, rather, that the pilot experienced something else entirely, perhaps related to the concussive or another kind of phenomenon. Even a flock of birds or a group of balloons, the latter of which can be used as decoys to confuse enemy radar and bait fighter aircraft and other air defenses, could appear as a drone swarm in a stressful situation. Iran had every reason to use such cheap but potentially effective tactics. While an experienced fighter pilot would normally be able to tell the difference between drones or birds, these were very much abnormal circumstances. Then there is the matter of the UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, which this could fall into, just for the reason that what was seen may be hard to identify, and we have no evidence as well. We don't know what the description of the configurations of the drones was, or if any was provided, which could help narrow down the possibilities of this situation. Also, did the aircraft sensors detect these craft? We just don't know. Again, all credit to thewarzone.com and Thomas Nudick, the staff writer who wrote this. So yeah, if you guys learned something or enjoyed watching, please smash the like button. A thumbs up is greatly appreciated. It really helps me out in the algorithm and lets other people see my videos as it pushes them in the algorithm. Subscribe, drop a like, ring the bell, that way you don't miss any video I post in the future, and check out my older content on the channel, lots of videos to binge watch regarding everything military, everything weapons, history, stories, weapons lists, and just war news in general. We cover it all, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Any support means the world to me. I've been really passionate with this new channel, and it's just a topic and channel that I've been wanting to make for a while. So, yeah. So do you guys think this pilot saw a jellyfish-like drone swarm, and that's why his F-15E jet was downed and why he ejected? So the pilot did survive the situation, by the way, so I think that's pretty important to note. Thankfully he survived, but this war was completely pointless and not beneficial for America whatsoever, so I'm very annoyed that we did it, but here we are, sadly. But hopefully in my lifetime we'll see America become America first and realize who its main enemy is, controlling them. But that's another video, right? I want to keep my channel as safe as possible. But thank you guys. See you next time. Hope you have a good day.